Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are undertaking a mission that goes far beyond just analyzing a simple educational platform.
Oh, far beyond.
We're really tearing into the blueprints of Docuplay, a comprehensive, massive, integrated system of learning and industry. And it's designed not just to transmit knowledge, but to, fundamentally reshape how we even classify it.
And how we apply critical thinking, and maybe most importantly, how we can fuel real global economic innovation.
That's the core of it, isn't it?
That's the crux of it. I mean, Docuplay is genuinely revolutionary because it's tackling these huge educational and industrial challenges by going right to the source. It's addressing philosophical flaws that have, persisted in Western thought for centuries.
So our mission today is to take a really deep dive into its foundations, the epistemology, the methodology, just to understand the sheer constructive potential of this project.
And it is immense.
I think the first impression you get when you look at Docuplay is that this is not just a collection of 50,000 courses, it's an entire system of thought being proposed.
Exactly. It's a framework.
It's an approach that successfully marries, the scientific rigor you need to master the material world with the depth of the humanities, which are so necessary to navigate the complexity of human society.
It's aiming for nothing less than a completely integrated theory of knowledge.
Which is quite an ambition.
It is, and what's so fascinating here is Docuplay's commitment to overcoming these very specific historical philosophical limitations. For centuries, you've had these philosophical currents.
Like what, for example?
Specifically nominalist and skeptical philosophies. I mean, you can trace them from thinkers like William of Ockham all the way through to Immanuel Kant. And they've all basically maintained that we fundamentally cannot know the essences of things.
Their true underlying nature.
Precisely. We can't know the whatness of something.
And that's a huge constraint, isn't it? If you believe you can't truly know the essence of something, you're just observing surface features.
You're limited to observing phenomena, yes. And Docuplay argues that this has had really detrimental consequences for progress in certain parts of the world. It creates a sort of intellectual ceiling.
So what's Docuplay's alternative?
Docuplay operates on a much more optimistic and I think productive principle that the material world, the quantitative world, can not only be known in its essence, but that this knowledge is inherently and fundamentally mathematizable.
So it can be measured.
It can be measured. They take Galileo's famous maxim as their starting point. Natural laws are written in mathematical language.
Okay.
This belief that the material world is accessible to precise mathematical measurement is the bedrock upon which the entire system is built. It allows for certain demonstrable knowledge.
That really sets the stage for a dramatic overhaul of how learning is organized. Okay, so let's unpack this. Section 1, the foundational revolution. This all seems to hinge on Docuplay's distinction between its two pillars of knowledge.
Demonstrable and argumentative.
Right.
And this distinction, it's not just some academic exercise. It is the methodological guide for the entire curriculum. It dictates how students acquire certainty versus, say, conviction.
Okay, so let's start with the hard sciences. Where does that fall?
That falls under the first pillar, the knowledge of the quantitative. Docuplay defines this as the demonstrative or hard sciences.
So physics, chemistry.
Exactly. The objects of this knowledge are, by definition, material, measurable, quantitative, and therefore mathematizable. We're talking about the classical natural sciences.
And what's the consequence of achieving knowledge in this area? Why do they call it demonstrative?
Because the outcome is absolute certainty. It's a powerful idea. When knowledge in this realm is successfully demonstrated through empirical evidence and mathematical proof, our reason, it just yields to the evidence.
It has no choice.
It has no choice. You can't doubt the conclusion. There are no degrees of security or certainty. It's just an established fact. This is the realm of pure objectivity.
And the scale is just, wow.
The scale is immense. You can see Docuplay's ambition here. The natural sciences, which is DDC Class 5, that alone accounts for about 20% of their Program 6 curriculum. We're talking thousands and thousands of courses.
Okay, so let's contrast that with the second pillar, which deals with all the messy human stuff.
The human complexity, yes. This is the knowledge of the qualitative, or what they call the argumentative sciences.
And the objects of study here are completely different.
Fundamentally different. They are immaterial, they're nonsensible, they're qualitative. Think about concepts like moral values or aesthetic beauty or the legal principles that govern our society.
Political ideologies.
Political ideologies. You can't put a ruler to them. You can't put them on a scale.
Because that qualitative knowledge isn't measurable, it can't be demonstrated with the same certainty as physics.
That's the key. It's not demonstrable, but it is argumentable. And this is so important. It leads to varying degrees of conviction or probability, not certainty.
So you don't just give up on it.
You don't give up. Docuplay recognizes that we can't stop trying to understand these crucial human dimensions just because they lack magnitude. So the methodology has to shift from proof to, well, the quality of your reasoning.
This brings us directly to what the system calls its key to change, which is Docuplay's really profound and revolutionary view on mathematics.
Yes.
This seems like a foundational shift that would impact every single technical course they offer.
This part is absolutely vital for understanding just how disruptive Docuplay is. It explicitly rejects these long-standing philosophical traditions.
Like Pythagoreanism and Platonism.
Exactly. Those traditions posit that mathematical concepts are these eternal beings that exist before human reason, that we just discovered them.
I think most of us were taught that, right? That mathematical laws is something we just uncover, like finding artifacts buried in the universe. So if Docuplay rejects discovery, what does it embrace?
It embraces invention. Docuplay turns that entire idea on its head. It defines mathematics as pure inventions or tools. Yes, instruments that our reason creates solely for the practical purpose of measuring specific magnitudes in the material world. We don't find mathematical ideas waiting for us. We invent them to serve a practical purpose, like measurement.
Wait, hold on. Why is that distinction so critical for education? I mean, why does calling math an invention instead of a discovery fundamentally improve a student's grasp of physics or engineering?
Because that single definition imposes what Docuplay calls the utility principle across the entire curriculum. The teaching and practice of mathematics must absolutely avoid any construction that can't definitively answer one simple question.
And that question is,
what is it for?
what is it for?
If a student is learning a mathematical tool, they must know what magnitude that tool is intended to measure. Is it weight, extension, duration, force?
That's a radical departure from how abstract math is usually taught.
Right.
So instead of solving a quadratic equation in a total vacuum,
Right.
a Docuplay student has to immediately apply it to measuring, say, the curve of a projectile under specific force conditions. It grounds the abstract concept in physical reality.
Precisely. If a student can't relate a mathematical construction to measuring some tangible magnitude, Docuplay asserts that that construction is pedagogically counterproductive. It should be avoided.
So it's all about practical utility.
It's all about grounding it in reality. By ensuring all mathematical learning is tied to concrete utility, Docuplay is confident it can allow students to progress rapidly and fluently in math, science, and technology all at once. This constant grounding is the key.
Okay, so if that foundational principle of mathematical utility is the bedrock, then we have to look at how they've built the house, their comprehensive curriculum structure. And they didn't just stick with a standard STEM house, did they?
No, they built an entire integrated neighborhood. They call it STEMSA.
STEMSA.
And this expansion is absolutely critical to Docuplay's overall vision for, a complete education for every citizen and for responsible economic development.
It starts with the traditional STEM core.
Yes. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But Docuplay intentionally extends that to create a much more expansive, more responsible system.
And to organize all of this, they use the Dewey Decimal Classification, the DDC. Why that system specifically?
They use DDC because it allows for universal cataloging and, crucially, cross-reference integration of all 50,000 courses across the globe. It imposes a rigorous, standardized organization that can scale.
So where do the core STEM fields fit in?
They're mostly contained within DDC classes 5, which is natural sciences, and 6, which is technologies. But the real innovation, the genius of it, comes in the extension.
The SAH.
ASAH. This brings in that human dimension that is so often neglected in purely technical education.
So let's break it down.
The S is for social sciences, which is DDC class 3. The A is for arts and crafts, DDC 7. And finally, H for history, which is DDC 9.
And this isn't just a token inclusion?
Not at all. This comprehensive approach is a crucial innovation because it directly addresses what Docuplay identifies as a major structural weakness in global educational assessments. They point specifically to the OECD's PISA report for as they see it, incomprehensibly neglecting these fields.
So for Docuplay, these subjects are just non-negotiable for holistic education.
Absolutely. The sheer scale is staggering. As you mentioned, classes 5 and 6 natural sciences and technologies, they alone contain more than 20,000 courses.
Wow.
But if you add in the social sciences from class 3, the total base of technical and socially relevant courses exceeds 40,000. That provides an essential and incredibly comprehensive base for any professional focus on innovation and sustainable development.
And this massive structure, it naturally leads to an important category of knowledge that sort of bridges that gap between certainty and conviction.
That's the hybrid epistemology of social sciences.
So social sciences aren't purely demonstrable or purely argumentative, they're a mix.
Precisely. Social sciences, so you're thinking of fields like sociology, economics, political science, they're hybrid. Part of their study is quantifiable and demonstrable.
Like statistics.
Right. Think of statistical analysis, demographics, or detailed economic modeling where you are measuring quantifiable magnitudes. That's demonstrable.
But the other critical part is not measurable.
Correct. The other part is only argumentable because it deals with immaterial and qualitative objects. Things like ethical considerations and policy, analyzing historical motivations, or assessing cultural values.
So you need both.
Docuplay acknowledges that you need both demonstrable rigor and nuanced argumentation to study human society effectively. This allows the system to tackle complex, real-world problems from all sides.
And that balance really highlights the increased importance Docuplay places on the pure humanities, which are entirely argumentative sciences.
Yes, so now we're talking about Class 1 philosophy, 2 religion, 7 fine arts, 4 language, and 8 literature.
And the assertion here is pretty bold, isn't it? Especially for our digital future.
It is. Docuplay states unequivocally that the humanities must become more important, especially given the rapid proliferation of generative AI.
That feels counterintuitive to some. If AI can write poetry and generate articles, why do humans need to study those fields more intensely?
Because these subjects are uniquely effective for developing the higher order, truly human skills that we'll need for the AI age.
Such as?
Synthesis, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, sociability, governance. These are the qualities that Gen AI, by its very nature, can't replicate. And therefore, they represent the most valuable, the most competitive skills for future citizens in a world increasingly dominated by automation.
I find the specific attention Docuplay pays to literature, DDC-8, to be incredibly fascinating, and also commercially very astute.
It absolutely is. Literature, which is housed within their Humanities Program 12, plans to leverage AI not to replace human understanding, but to offer tens of thousands of courses on authors and their works. It's about making global literary history accessible in incredible depth.
And within that huge literary framework, Docuplay focuses specifically on poetry.
Yes. They note that of all literary genres, poetry is, and I'm quoting here, undoubtedly the richest in content of idealistic and spiritual value.
And therefore,
it's uniquely effective for the regeneration of the modern world. They see it as a way to address certain cultural needs, specifically in the Western world.
hold on, you just slipped something extraordinary in there.
Yeah.
Poetry, a field that's often, relegated to academic obscurity, is not only central to spiritual and idealistic regeneration, but it's integrated into the system's commercial success.
It is.
You're talking about generating significant revenue from musicalized versions of poems from public domain authors.
That's right. When works are in the public domain, Docuplay plans to provide high-quality recited or musicalized versions as streaming content. This is to facilitate study and maximize engagement.
And that streaming becomes a revenue source.
A significant source of revenue, yes. This demonstrates how the system successfully ties high cultural value and spiritual enrichment directly to economic sustainability. The humanities aren't treated as some peripheral expense. They are fundamental for developing necessary human qualities, and they're integrated into the system's financial model. It reinforces their value.
That systematic connection between philosophy, curriculum, and practical outcome brings us right into Section 3. Methodology, probabilism, and critical thinking. Let's start with the practical application of that mathematics invention principle we talked about.
The what is it for test.
Right. How does that actually play out in the classroom?
This is where that philosophical shift ensures maximum tangible progress for the students. Since mathematics is strictly viewed as an invented tool for measurement, the instructor has to explicitly contextualize every single problem from the very start.
So when a teacher poses a mathematical problem, they have to clarify those two core contextual factors.
Explicitly. First, which magnitude is being measured? Is this tool calculating the weight of a bridge component, the duration of a chemical reaction, the force needed for an industrial movement? And second, what existing mathematical tools are available to carry out that specific measurement?
The purpose is everything. This prevents students from applying measurable tools to non-measurable, immaterial concepts, which is a philosophical mistake Docuplay warns against. It grounds the math in reality immediately.
Absolutely. The problem formulation has to be rigorous enough to prevent that kind of abstraction without utility. And what's more, to really deepen the students' understanding and help them acquire fluency in mathematical language.
Yeah.
Docuplay will encourage students to find the solution to problems in various ways, even when the final answer is already known.
So it's not just about getting the right answer.
It's about promoting creativity and a deeper understanding of mathematical relationships beyond just, rote procedure.
This commitment to uncovering the underlying reality, whether it's material or immaterial, leads us to the core epistemological foundation for all study in Docuplay.
Which they draw from phenomenology.
Right.
Docuplay adopts the rigorous philosophy of Husserl's phenomenological method. It's encapsulated by that German motto, zu den Sachen selbst, to things themselves.
To the things themselves.
And the Spanish philosopher Zubiri articulated this beautifully and practically. He said, leave things as they are to know them as they are.
That sounds simple, but in the context of global education, committing to an unprejudiced investigation, analysis, and study of reality as it is, that is extraordinarily difficult.
It's the defining feature of their methodological commitment. This freedom from bias is a foundational virtue. It's essential for studying values, moral, aesthetic, political, religious, in a way that is, and this is their phrase, free above all from the omnipresent prejudices of the right and the left.
That is a massive claim. When you're studying history or political science, how can Docuplay possibly ensure that students approach these subjects free from political or cultural prejudice?
By using phenomenology as a strict methodological lens, the goal is to train students to operate with the reality of things in the most appropriate and profitable way, and that demands rigorous analysis that isn't clouded by ideology.
So it's about intellectual honesty.
It's about a culture of effort to understand reality as it is, not as one wishes it to be. And this applies equally to a physicist analyzing gravitational data and a political scientist analyzing the outcomes of a specific governance structure.
Okay, so if demonstrable knowledge yields certainty, what's the standard for the qualitative argumentative sciences, where doubt is always possible?
Oh.
Docuplay rejects absolute relativism, right? The idea that all opinions are equally valid.
Completely rejects it. That idea is often prevalent in modern qualitative studies, but Docuplay champions a methodology known as probabiliorism.
Probabiliorism.
They also label it dynamic relativism. This concept is crucial for critical thinking in the argumentative realm. It maintains that opinions are absolutely not all equivalent.
How so?
They differ fundamentally in the number and the quality of arguments or reasons supporting them.
Wait, isn't that just saying argue better? How is that different from what we see in a standard, highly polarized political debate?
It's fundamentally different because it imposes a structural requirement for adherence. In a standard debate, people adhere to the opinion they prefer. Docuplay asserts that students must seek and adhere to the opinion that is most probable or plausible.
Based on what?
Based on the best reasons and arguments available. It's not about finding an argument for your side. It's about finding the superior argument, period.
So the whole standard shifts. Where demonstrable knowledge requires irrefutable proof, argumentative knowledge requires you to indicate the superior arguments or reasons, even if you can't get to absolute certainty.
Precisely. Probabiliorism ensures effort and intellectual rigor. It directly contrasts with what they call static relativism, or mere probabilism, which holds that all opinions are equivalent because certainty is impossible.
So it's a rejection of intellectual laziness.
It is. Docuplay insists that even though reason might not completely overcome doubt in the qualitative realm, we have a duty to adhere to the one that offers the most probable, best-founded, or most plausible reasons. This is crucial for reliability and progress.
And they've actually operationalized this with incentives.
Yes. To motivate this intellectual effort, the system will implement a ranking system to classify how well this probabilistic approach is implemented across the qualitative courses.
To encourage students to dig deeper.
Exactly. It motivates students to apply rigorous methodology and consistently seek the most probable opinion. It enhances the quality of reasoning applied to complex human problems. When facing a demonstration, reason yields to evidence. When facing an argument, reason yields to the most probable conviction based on superior reasoning. It's a remarkably consistent and powerful framework.
And that systematic, rigorously defined approach to knowledge flows right into Docuplay's engine for economic development. So Section 4, innovation and enterprise. This is embodied in that powerful formula they use.
R&D and I&D&C.
R&D and I&D&C.
This formula research, digitization, innovation development, and commercialization is the proof that Docuplay moves far beyond just theoretical learning. It bridges education directly into creating a productive economic ecosystem.
One capable of sustainable development on a massive scale.
That's the goal.
It's the full commercial feedback loop. And this is promoted specifically at their higher educational levels, right? Professional training in university.
Levels 3 and 4, yes.
So why is that second D for digitization so critical that it needed to be separated from development?
Because digitization is the connective tissue of the modern economy, and it's the core of Docuplay's competitive advantage. Think about it. Research and innovation, the R&I, are theoretical.
Right.
Development, the final D, is manufacturing or service deployment. But digitization, that first D, is the necessary step of translating the innovative concept into a digital, shareable, replicable format.
Like a computer application or a 3D model file.
Exactly. That's what makes mass production and scalable commercialization possible.
And this full formula, it only gains its ultimate meaning through the integration of the educational consortiums into the industrial ones.
Absolutely. The ultimate constructive goal is for the TECs, the Trifacethic Educational Consortiums, to integrate seamlessly into PICs, the Pentafacetic Industrial Consortiums.
Which ensures the whole knowledge creation process is inherently commercially productive.
And the benefits accrue simultaneously to the students, the educators, and the industrial partners. Everyone wins.
A major, very concrete element of this production strategy is the ambition to exponentially increase product design and manufacturing. And they seem to be focusing heavily on 3D printing.
This is a major area where that R&D and I&D&C cycle just comes alive. Docuplay is setting up extremely strong incentives for students in technical subjects to carry out projects aimed at designing new, commercially viable products.
And here's the key part.
Together with the computer application required to produce those products in series using 3D printers.
So let's use a concrete example to really illustrate this guaranteed commercial pipeline. Say a group of engineering students designs a revolutionary, energy-efficient component for modular housing.
Okay.
What happens once that design and its related application are complete?
Once the product design is approved by the commercial partners within the consortium and the 3D printer application has been rigorously tested and verified for serial production, the student authors are guaranteed a contract.
A contract determining their future income from that product.
It's not just a handshake agreement, it's a formal legal contract. And it's signed by all contributing authors, the investigation team, the design team, the programming team, everyone who contributed.
That contract immediately addresses intellectual property. And it ensures that practical, technical effort is directly tied to a long-term financial reward. You're effectively creating entrepreneurs inside the academic framework.
It's a genius mechanism for ensuring the highest quality of work.
It has to be.
It is. It's a mechanism designed to generate massive, sustained innovation. And to ensure this vast effort, we're talking potentially thousands of new products annually, is efficient, Docuplay will develop and maintain specialized databases in each sector.
And these databases are essential for avoiding waste, aren't they?
Completely essential. These databases are accessible to all course subscribers, so students and consortium partners can consult them before starting or continuing a project.
So you can see what's already been done.
You see existing designs, ongoing research, previous failures. It avoids costly duplication and overlapping R&D efforts on a global scale. It's about smart innovation.
So let's look briefly at the complexity of the consortia structure itself. You mentioned the TECs and PICs. These acronyms really illustrate how integrated the whole system is.
They do. They show how it connects theory, practice, and capital.
Let's start with the core unit, the TECs.
The TECs, or Trifacethic Educational Consortiums. As the name suggests, they integrate three key agents to deliver a comprehensive education.
And those three are the foundational pillars of how they deliver learning.
Correct. You have the EDU senders, which are the schools, providing theoretical, face-to-face instruction. You have companies providing the essential practical, experimental training.
And the third.
And Docuplay itself, providing the standardized digital online teaching component. This structure ensures a student receives a complementary education that covers all the necessary dimensions: theory, practice, and global access.
Okay, so that's a tech. Then you have the PICs, the Pendifacetic Industrial Consortiums. These take that robust educational core and expand it.
They expand it into the full commercial engine, the one capable of financing and marketing the R&D&I and D&C output.
So it adds two more agents. It's Pendifacetic, 5 faces.
Yes, PICs expand the text by adding two more absolutely essential agents: consultants and investors.
And what specific role do they play that the techs can't cover on their own?
Well, the consultants provide specialized current market knowledge and guidance. They make sure the innovations are commercially relevant and that the R&D focus is efficient. And the investors.
They bring the money.
They provide the crucial financial capital required for scaling up, for tooling, and for commercializing the successful designs that are generated by the students and the companies within the tech.
So this 5-part structure allows the knowledge created in the educational system to be professionally guided, funded, and made commercially viable on an industrial scale. It closes the entire loop.
It closes the loop perfectly.
Finally, we have to mention the sophisticated technology Docuplay is using to facilitate that practical experimental training component, which is so often the weakest link in distance learning.
This is handled through what they call virtual laboratories, or VLs.
And these aren't just simulations.
Not at all. They are virtual systems designed for specialized training that are accessible anytime, anywhere in the world. They allow for that practical experimental component that's delivered by the companies in the consortium.
How does Docuplay make sure these VLs are current and actually relevant to the industry?
They are formed by 3D objects and products that various entities, especially the industrial companies, expose in their own dedicated metaverses.
Okay.
These corporate metaverses are then connected via the Internet of Things, the IoT. And this linkage ensures that the VLs offer real-time data and access to actual equipment interfaces. Meaning a student in one country can be practicing maintenance procedures on a machine that's physically operating in a factory across the world.
That's incredible.
And Docuplay aims for nearly every scientific and technical course to have a specialized VL related to its subject matter. It's about ensuring maximum experiential learning.
So as we draw to a close, let's just try and synthesize Docuplay's vision. This entire project, it feels like a comprehensive effort built on a single philosophical commitment.
It is.
To master the material world through demonstrable sciences, and to successfully navigate the immaterial realities of human existence through the argumentative sciences.
And central to this entire project is its powerful ethical and, I would say, spiritual core. It's perfectly encapsulated in Docuplay's motto,
Which is?
Improve the world through internet-powered education in all knowledge for all people at any age throughout life.
What really stands out there is a focus on equality of opportunity, especially at a time when technology tends to create these massive wealth and knowledge divides.
That's its greatest virtue, I think. Docuplay explicitly states that the most important ethical value for the project is ensuring equality of all humans regarding the use of the opportunities offered by the internet.
So it's a countermeasure.
It's a direct and a massive constructive countermeasure against the risk that the digital revolution might increase inequality, leaving a huge majority of people technologically and economically disadvantaged. By making this comprehensive, rigorous, and commercially linked education globally accessible, it promotes a real path toward agency and productivity for everyone.
But this commitment to access requires a parallel commitment from the student, doesn't it? A culture of effort.
Absolutely. The entire foundational structure, the metaphysical, epistemological, methodological, it's all designed to foster this culture of effort. It trains each student to know things as they are so they can operate appropriately and profitably.
And Docuplay notes that this effort is supported, in part, by some deep religious foundations.
They do, specifically referencing Catholic philosophy.
That's a critical point in understanding the system's motivation engine, isn't it? Docuplay doesn't just demand effort. It provides a spiritual context for that demand.
Yes, and this is highly constructive. Docuplay highlights that Catholicism explicitly reinforces the idea that faith without works is insufficient, that salvation rewards good works.
Okay.
Furthermore, this cognitive and practical effort aligns with the biblical mandate in Genesis for humanity to dominate the earth, which necessarily implies the intellectual effort of knowing well everything the earth contains.
So it provides this deep, centuries-old spiritual foundation for the practical effort and diligence the system requires.
It reinforces the intrinsic value of labor and knowledge acquisition.
So to leave you with a final thought, let's revisit that core distinction that makes Docuplay so powerful. The system argues that true scientific and economic progress requires us to recognize mathematics solely as an invented tool for measuring the material world, the quantitative.
And this foundational premise forces us to consider the implications of limiting our most powerful intellectual instruments. If mathematics is strictly and solely limited to the measurable and the material, then applying it to the immaterial, well, it risks fundamentally distorting our understanding of human realities.
The provocative question posed by Docuplay itself, which we now pose to you, the listener, is this. What non-measurable human concepts, like happiness, justice, morality, or freedom, are we currently trying to apply mathematical or quantitative tools to?
And how might that attempt fundamentally limit or reduce or misunderstand their true qualitative essence?
It's a powerful question.
And Docuplay's profound and constructive answer reminds us that in the knowledge of extrasensory immaterial things, we can only reach conviction, not certainty. Therefore, we must always seek and adhere to the opinion that is most probable, the one most coherent with our rational essence, by providing the best reasons and arguments.
Our reason surrenders to evidence in the demonstrable world.
But we must actively and rigorously seek the most probable opinion in the argumentative human world.
This has been the deep dive into the structure and strategy of Docuplay, this massive integrated system of learning and industry. We hope this extensive analysis provides you with the clarity and insight needed to understand its foundational revolution and its immense potential.